Hey guys, before you watch this, I just really want to personally apologize for the ring light glare in my glasses. I'm very blind, so if I took them off, I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter, but it also goes with my look. So I just want to apologize about that before you watch. Enjoy this video. I really enjoyed talking about Good Trouble, and I hope you enjoy listening to me talk about it. Bye. All right, ladies. Kind of gives like a vibe. Yeah, let's do this way. I mean, it still doesn't really negate the fact that I'm sitting on my floor and not looking at the camera lens. Is this like... Okay. So I'm sitting on the floor. I purchased a tripod and you can obviously see the ring light. So my $30 ring light from Amazon is working. So lighting has been so I'm kind of changing up the content that I'm really interested in making. Not that I really had a niche before that, but recently, like many other people stuck in quarantine, I have really gotten into TV shows. To name a few, I've rewatched Gossip Girl with my friend. Only got to season 4 because it was just terrible. And then we started watching Hannibal. I immediately rewatched it with a friend, and we still haven't finished it because it was getting stressful. But that's a wonderful show. Sidebar. But something that I really want to talk about today is the show called Good Trouble. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the skill set to really edit in any clips. Maybe I'll be able to do some screenshots. And I'm like a little scared about like copyright, but this is fair use, so don't sue me. So the one thing that I find that a lot of TV shows are missing is like shows that aren't about high school. I don't know why American culture is just like so obsessed with these like teenage shows and like all of the weird tropes like student-teacher relationships and like teenage pregnancy. I mean, obviously the teenage pregnancy one is like a little bit more like relatable, but like teenager student relationships are so icky. Even when I was in high school, I was like so uncomfortable. There was this like rumor going around that there was this teacher that was like hooking up with students, and that just always made me like feel really like whereas like my friends, or I guess my acquaintances would always be like, oh my god, like isn't that so hot? And I'm like, no. Like, I mean, maybe I know I'm probably not in the minority, but you know, like I think like the idea when you're a teen is like, oh my god, it's like bad, you know. But sorry, I feel like I really messed up by mentioning that here. But you know what I'm talking about, like especially when we're talking about Euphoria and how HBO really utilized the nudity and like how they're supposed to be teenagers, but it's like fine because they're all adults and like the actors are all adults. But like, you know, I think that's just like, so it's like, why? I mean, I'm still watching Euphoria because I've like kind of really grown to love like the cinematography and like the storyline, but I'm still very much like uncomfortable by the whole like, oh, we're gonna be hardcore and show all the real stuff. And it's like, for some, I'm sure for many young adults, that's a norm, doing all these drugs and like experimenting and all this stuff in high school. But I think in every other normal or maybe like more privileged, like middle class, like teenagers are not experiencing that whatsoever. I mean, granted, I was very uncool, I was very depressed and very socially anxious when I was growing up. So like those possibilities were not even like what? Like I didn't even know there was parties until my senior year. I didn't know people had parties. Like, and I know that's not an unusual thing. Like I knew people like hung out and got drunk together, but I did not know of any like major like bashes going on. Like I went on like a UK trip when I was a senior, and there was this girl who was like fairly popular, but she was like she was like the coolest kid. Like she was so nice. And she was like, yeah, like we would get drunk and go to the fields. Like, I was like, what? Like, who? Like, like hello? But that's like a side note. But it's just like, it's also very Delaware, like, whatever, we're gonna move on. But yeah, I think like the one thing about all of these teen shows is like, it doesn't really, like, it's not relatable. Unless you're watching like Degrassi, which is like also not really relatable, but like it still had like some themes that were, you know, normal. Whereas if you're talking about like the Vampire Diaries or like Riverdale, we can move on. Riverdale might be a whole other video that I want to do, but like, you know, it's just like not very relatable. Even Gossip Girl. What? Like, why are these teenagers going to bars? Granted, it is New York City and they have money, but like, why are these teenagers going to bars and having these really weird relationships with these like 25-year-olds when they're like 19, you know, maybe like 17? But like, that's why I really like this show called Good Trouble. So it's like a sequel to The Fosters. And if you watch The Fosters, you know, like it's a little like, it's a really progressive show, so there's a lot of progressive viewpoints, which is like fine with me, but I can understand why some people might not enjoy watching that, especially if they're a little more conservative. But I find it to be very, very informative, very like well done in a way, I guess. Like, even though it's ABC Family, I think it's so good. But yeah, I think like talking about like Good Trouble is like, why aren't there more shows catered or like written about people that are like 25? Like, why is everything about 16-year-olds? Like, I mean, and the thing is that a lot of people, or at least young people, are watching these like high school shows still because there's really nothing like else out there. It's like either you have like Riverdale or you have like what's like one of the like Renee Witherspoon's Reese Witherspoon. Oh my god, what's the Reese Witherspoon show? Like, you know, like all of these dramas about like really rich women that are like someone has been murdered, or like even like the hospital nursing, or like crime shows. It's like you got like high school drama or like crime show, or you know, it's like it's nothing really in between where like people are really growing and becoming adults. And so I think that's like what's really frustrating. And so like when watching Good Trouble, I'm just like, yes, this is about me and like, you know, being able to see yourself on TV. I mean, obviously I'm not a lawyer or like a computer engineer, but like, yeah. So I guess I can kind of get into the show a little bit. I'm not really like running off of a script right now. I'm in the middle of watching season 2. I think I'm towards the end of it. But I think like how they developed the show, how they like developed the characters is just like so fantastic. I'm just like basically eating Good Trouble's ass right now. So like I apologize. I'm not even gonna go into the bads and the goods and the bads for this, but like I just like kind of want to like share my love for the show just because I relate to it. Like, Anyway, but so there's that Callie who was in the previous show, the foster child, eventually adopted child of the Addams foster family, which is like this lesbian couple that has adopted children and a biological son, from a woman from a previous marriage. And so Callie was a very like, I don't really know how to describe her, like, girl gets shit done, basically. So I will give her that one. I could never be Callie. And then we have her sister Mariana, and Mariana is another adopted. She's an adopted twin. Mr. To All the Boys I Loved Before plays her brother, but it was Jake T. Austin at first, and then I don't know what happened to Jake T. Austin. But that's in the Fosters, so it doesn't even matter anymore. But so yeah, so we have like these two sisters and they move into this loft in LA. And if we're gonna talk about if it being realistic in terms of like rent and size, I don't really know anything about Los Angeles. So, but I do know like they mentioned that it's very expensive a lot. And yeah, so I like this whole concept of like recent graduates from like their masters and undergrad going and living in LA and just like being sisters. And it's not about Hollywood. It's not about Hollywood. And that's what's so cool about it. It's about like real life. I know I'm getting really excited. I'm just like so into the show. I mean, of course there's gonna be cringy moments and I have to pause it a lot because I have to look away because I'm uncomfortable. But like I had to do with that with the Fosters all the time. But so yeah, essentially it's just about like these two sisters navigating the world, and Callie is a lawyer and Mariana is a computer scientist or computer engineer at this like startup. So it's just like fun. Very provocative. I wouldn't say it's provocative, but it's very like, ooh, like the storylines are a hit after a hit. And you learn to love all of the side characters, the roommates at the coterie, which is like where Mariana and Callie end up moving to. And I just could not suggest the show enough. I won't spoil anything. I think that's just like, I guess that's just like very obvious that I'm not gonna try to spoil anything. But there's like a love triangle, there's the discussion of bisexuality, there's the discussion of Black Lives Matter, there's sexism issues within like the tech field, and you know, it's just like so cool. I really love this show. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it for now, unless like anybody wants me to talk more about it and like maybe even actually have a script and talk about the show a little bit more. But like, yeah, I just love this show a lot. And if anybody else has any other similar shows that are sort of like this, please let me know because I love it. Okay, thanks, bye.